Welcome to the Explainer. When a road accident shatters a life in India, the path to justice doesn't lead where you might think. It doesn't go to a regular courtroom. Today, we're going to navigate the special system built to deliver swift help, the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal.
So to really get why these special courts even exist, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the problem they were created to solve. Every single day on India's roads, lives are changed forever in an instant. And the numbers, well, they're just staggering. Take a look at this number. That's how many road accidents were reported in India in just one recent year. It's a figure so massive, it's kind of hard to even comprehend. But we have to remember, behind every single one of those numbers is a story, a family, a crisis.
And this is where the data really reveals the true human cost. Look at this. Almost 3/4 of the people who lose their lives are between 18 and 45 years old. These are people in the prime of their lives, often the main breadwinners for their entire families. The ripple effect from a single accident is it's devastating.
So it brings up a really critical question, doesn't it? If this nightmare happened to you or someone you care about, would you even know where to begin? The process can seem overwhelming for sure. But here's the thing. There is a clear, defined path to justice, and that's the journey we're going to map out right now.
Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, why was a special tribunal needed at all? Why not just use the regular court system like for everything else? Well, the answer really boils down to one absolutely crucial word: speed. Okay, so picture this. Before 1956, a family's desperate plea for compensation was just another case file in a huge mountain of civil cases. It could get buried in the slow, tangled legal system for years, and that's a delay a family in crisis just cannot afford. So, the creation of the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal, or MACT, was a radical idea, a dedicated, fast-track system just for these victims.
And you can really see how this idea evolved over time. It all started back in the 1930s with the basic concept of mandatory insurance. Then came the big leap in 1956 with the creation of these special tribunals. And it's kept evolving, with modern reforms as recently as 2019. Each step has pushed the system to become more and more focused on the victim.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What happens right after an accident is reported? In those first, absolutely critical 30 days. Because believe me, the clock starts ticking immediately, and the police have a very specific job to do.
Now, this is what's so fascinating. The police's role isn't just about criminal investigation. It's also about kicking off the compensation claim for the victim. Get this. Within 48 hours, they have to notify the court. Then they become the main evidence collectors. And here's the most important part. Within 30 days, they have to file something called a Detailed Accident Report, or DAR.
And that DAR is an absolute game changer. Seriously, it's this comprehensive file that has everything: the police report, photos, driver's license, insurance info, you name it. What this does is it basically turns the entire state machinery into an ally for the victim. It lifts that massive burden of collecting evidence off a family that's already dealing with shock and grief. So once that claim is filed, the tribunal faces this incredibly profound and difficult task. How do you put a monetary value on a life that's been lost, or on a future that's been completely altered? It sounds impossible, right? But it's not arbitrary. It's actually based on a very specific, structured formula. The whole calculation starts with the victim's annual income. But, and this is the really smart part, the law recognizes that a person's income doesn't just stay the same, it grows over time. So the first step is to add a percentage for future prospects, all the potential raises and promotions that have now been lost. For a salaried person under 40, for example, they add a full 50%, acknowledging that a long career was cut tragically short. Okay, next up, the court does something that just makes logical sense. It deducts the amount the victim would have probably spent on their own personal expenses, and this amount changes depending on how many people were relying on them. So for a family with, say, 2 or 3 dependents, a third of the income is deducted. What's left over is the key number, the yearly financial support the family has now lost.
And finally, they take that yearly contribution number and multiply it. The number they use, this multiplier, comes from a set table, and it's all based on the victim's age. This step essentially projects the family's financial loss over what would have been the victim's expected working years. And that final calculation gives you the core compensation amount.
Of course, not every accident is fatal. So what happens in those cases? The system has a really sophisticated way of assessing compensation for injuries, too.
And it looks beyond just the physical damage to understand the real-world impact on a person's life and their ability to earn a living.
This landmark case explains a key concept perfectly: functional disability. So, an actress suffered facial disfigurement. A doctor might say her physical disability is, say, 30%. But the Supreme Court looked at the reality of her job and said her functional disability was 100%. Why? Because that injury meant she could never, ever act in films again. It completely wiped out her career.
All right, let's follow the claim as it moves through the tribunal itself. The whole system is built with these principles designed to put the victim's needs first and make sure they get the funds without any needless delays. And this principle right here, this shows the true social welfare heart of this system. It's called pay and recover. Let's say the driver who caused the accident had a fake license, which is a breach of their insurance policy. Normally, the victim would have to wait for years while the insurance company and the vehicle owner fight it out in court. But not here. This rule forces the insurance company to pay the victim first. They can worry about getting the money back from the owner later. It's a powerful statement. The victim's immediate needs come before everything else.
And that theme of speed is baked right into the process. After the police file that detailed accident report, a 30-day clock starts ticking for the insurance company. They have to review everything and make a settlement offer. If the family accepts, it's done. If they reject it, only then does it move to a formal hearing for the tribunal to decide the final amount. But the tribunal's job doesn't just stop when the award is announced. I mean, the next challenge is making sure this large sum of money, which is meant to replace a lifetime of lost income, is actually protected and provides long-term security. And for that, the courts have created a pretty unique financial shield. This system is called the Motor Accident Claims Annuity Deposit Scheme, or MACT. It's basically a financial protection plan designed by the courts, so a small part is released right away for immediate needs, but the rest, the bulk of it, is put into a series of fixed deposits that mature over many, many years. This creates a steady, long-term stream of income for the family.
And these conditions are super strict, and they're designed to shield that compensation from being spent too quickly or mismanaged or even exploited by others. We're talking no loans against the money and controlling access to things like checkbooks or debit cards. The court makes sure that this award provides real, lasting financial security for the family's future. So, we've just walked through the entire architecture of this unique legal system. It's a framework built for speed, for compassion, and for protection. But a framework, a blueprint, is only as strong as its real-world implementation. Understanding how justice is designed is the first step. Thinking about how it actually works on the ground, well, that's the next.